Alright, hi there, and welcome to a new series I'm doing. My name is Ross Ruffing, and I'm starting this series on reading, improving yourself through reading, as well as engaging with the natural world a little bit more and learning about it through the knowledge you can gain from other people. So, the first book we're going to do, I'm going to call this series Built Up by Books. The first book I'm going to talk about is this book, Farmacology by Daphne Miller. The subtitle kind of is what innovative family farming can teach us about health and healing. And I just want to talk about a couple quick points in this book, tell you kind of what I got out of it, and recommend it to you. I do have a link below that you can pick up this book through Amazon. I do get some small commission on that. If you like what you hear, that's one way that you can kind of support me and tell me that I'm doing a good job, is to help me in my way of getting my messages out there, is to make a little money off it. I mean, that's certainly part of what we all have to do in this world. So anyway, I want to talk about the book Farmacology. This book really impacted me, and it made me want to start this whole series to find more books, to bring more books to people more books that I think can really impact people's lives in a really positive way. And this book, I know we've talked a lot in some of my other videos, if you watch Nature Yourself, about health, wealth, love, and happiness. These four things that, if without one, your life can't really reach its full potential. And the same is true with your relationship with the natural world, I believe. You got to think about the health, wealth, love, and happiness of the natural world that's going to live on after you're dead. And hopefully our children will have a good world to live in after we're gone. And that's really my goal. And I think that there's a really good relationship of being able to do that while also benefiting yourself even more so. So this book really validated a lot of those feelings for me. And she goes through, visits a bunch of different farms, finds different relationships between the soil health and the health of people in certain areas, brings a lot of science to that aspect of things, investigates some farms to recognize how much more resilient kids that grew up on farms and that are outside in general more are than kids that grew up in cities, never exposed to a lot of allergens or animals, and things like raw milk and stuff that probably a lot of us weren't necessarily exposed to when we were young, but that maybe we should be getting back around to nowadays. Let me just do a quick browse here. And then the final thing we'll talk about to encourage you to read this book is her approach to pest management. They went to this one vineyard, Scribe Winery in Sonoma Valley, California. I'm going to be going there in June, so I'll definitely be doing a little talk from there, give you an idea of what the place is like, because I think it's a lot different than most wineries you go to. Most wineries we go to, very clean-cut rows, well-manicured, perfect-looking places. This guy, he has weeds growing in between his vines, and he encourages some pests to live there, which seems completely bonkers to somebody. I've worked in a vineyard for years, and to me that's like, what? Why would you do that? But the way they do it is really interesting, because it's a permaculture idea to combat some pests with bringing other things in, kind of create this beneficial relationship for everybody, so that the pest doesn't take over your entire crop of vines. Likewise, the weeds growing in between the vines, if there's late season moisture for vineyards, the vines will pull up that moisture, and your grapes will be saturated with more water, so you don't get as highly concentrated of a grape flavor or grape juice, and that yields lower quality wine, because the wine is a little more watered down in a sense. What the weeds do is they pull moisture away from the vine's roots, so you don't get that same kind of effect as much, which is just really cool, because there's really nothing you can do. There's been no innovation that you can do to prevent that problem. There's no chemicals that you can do. But the chemicals that are really interesting. They talk about, when you spray chemicals on a vineyard or a field, a farm, or whatever, you kill that pest based on one aspect of that pest. Now, there's going to be certain members of that pest family that are going to survive it. And you know what? They're going to breed, and then they're going to create more offspring that are resilient to whatever you used. So next year, you're going to have to either use a stronger thing or find a different approach to killing them all. And that just keeps going and going and going, and now we're faced with all these super bugs that are resilient to whatever we throw at them. And that's not good. It's definitely not good. And what she does, she parallels that with cancer treatment. This blew my mind. I first heard about this book in an interview they did with her on NPR, which I will put a link in below here. And what she said was the same thing happens with cancer. When you eradicate cancer by way of chemotherapy or killing everything with drugs or chemicals, the strong ones that do survive, if they do, hopefully they don't, but the strong ones that do survive come back with a vengeance, and nothing can stop them because they don't have drugs powerful enough that can kill the cancer but not also kill you or kill all the good cells in your body, which is another thing that happens. You kill all the good cells, and just like in a field, you kill all the good bugs that would normally work to combat the bad things, and then you're left with this open vacant space that the stronger bugs can just totally take over, and the stronger cancer cells can just totally wipe everything out. So they're totally rethinking the way cancer's treated. They're totally rethinking the way we're treating our fields as far as farmland goes. So that was a really interesting thing. If you're into healthcare or anything, highly recommend this book. Highly recommend this book if you're into environmentalism. I highly recommend this book if you're into your own personal health. I think that is probably the most beneficial thing I got out of this. Is man, I gotta eat local food primarily. Shouldn't be buying produce from places elsewhere in the world. I know it's not very feasible, but man, over the next 5 years, I'm going to be doing a lot to try to get closer to that. So, I highly recommend this book, Farmacology, Daphne Miller. Pick it up, get it at the library, do whatever you gotta do. There's a link below if you want to get it through my Amazon affiliate link. And enjoy. Let me know what you think. I'd love to hear some feedback on this episode, on the book after you read it. Feel free to shoot me a call or email. We can have a chat about it. I came up with a lot of interesting ideas, and a lot of motivation came from this book for me, and I hope the same happens for you. So thanks for joining me for the first episode of Built Up by Books. We'll talk next time.